Buenas tardes, bienvenidos, bienvenidas al Centro de María y a esta actividad sobre el bilingüismo que tanto interés ha despertado. La Luisa está que para ser la altura del curso a la que estamos y la cantidad de inscripciones que ha habido, nos va a hacer la idea del interés que suscitan los centros y nosotros, sobre todo los coordinadores de los centros bilingües. Simplemente quería eso, daros la bienvenida y os voy a presentar a la asesoría del CEP que han estado preparando esta actividad, que vuelvo a insistir, que esperamos que corresponda o que responda al interés que habéis demostrado en su inscripción y sobre todo pretendemos hacerla muy práctica y que continuar los talleres y la experiencia os den muchas ideas para que luego llevarlo a vuestros centros y mejorar vuestra práctica diaria. Luisa Sánchez Roda es la asesora de aspecto lingüístico del CEP de Almería y concretamente la responsable del área de bilingüismo y es la máxima responsable de esta actividad, junto con Javier Peralta, que también es asesor del ámbito lingüístico y que conjuntamente los dos han compuesto el programa y se han encargado de todos los detalles. También agradeceros a los compañeros y compañeras que venís tanto del ámbito del centro electivo como del centro de Cuevas, que aunque esta actividad se enmarca dentro del proyecto de formación del Centro del Profesorado de Almería, pero que también habéis solicitado la inscripción y, por supuesto, nosotros encantados de recibiros aquí, aunque provengáis de ser diferentes dentro de la provincia de Almería. Pues voy a pasar sin más la palabra a Loli, que os va a marcar la actividad, el desarrollo de la misma, los detalles que tenéis que tener en cuenta y vuelvo a deciros que deseo que la actividad se responda a vuestras expectativas.
Nada, pues damos la bienvenida a todas y a todos, como ha dicho Sebastián, y también a aquellos compañeros de los centros que se han dejado convencer para participar en las ponencias y en los talleres, porque a esta altura del curso, pues la verdad que ellos sí que han hecho un esfuerzo súper grande, y luego lo veremos más adelante. Se quería retomar una idea que teníamos, una idea del centro, retomar el tema del bilingüismo, de coordinadores y coordinadoras del centro bilingüe, que no vean su trabajo, su experiencia, pero la que más nos interesa como conocer es las necesidades de formación que tenemos. Por eso, en esta actividad he intentado tocar casi todos aquellas metodologías, digamos así, que se tocan dentro de las lenguas. Aquí también, aparte de tanto bilingüe, hay gente que no es bilingüe o personas y compañeros que van a ser bilingües en el futuro, pero sobre todo relacionados con las lenguas en general. Que queremos, después, la encuesta online que recibiréis en el correo, ahí, aparte para valorar la actividad, son 8 horas, como hoy está compuesta por la conferencia de Luisa, que ahora ya Jesús, que todos conocemos, sus Pérez la presentará para revisar Pérez Cañado, que es la conferencia que tenemos esta tarde. La tarde va a transcurrir aquí enteramente, primero con la conferencia y después con la experiencia de los centros. Tenemos a un centro que nos va a presentar su experiencia de bilingüismo en idioma francés, otra es el centro de primaria con tareas de escuela inclusiva, atendiendo a la diversidad del alumnado que tenemos, y otra experiencia relacionada con el bilingüismo que verá. Entonces, a partir de ahí, mañana son talleres. Tenemos fuera para que os apuntéis a los talleres. Los talleres son 4. Se van a hacer 2 sesiones. Antes del descanso, un taller, al que asistimos cada uno al taller 3, y después del descanso, a otro taller. Porque hay 2, y lo digo porque si todavía los compañeros y compañeras no habían buscado después del descanso, tener oportunidad. Mañana cuando lleguéis, encontraréis la puerta de cada taller, el nombre del taller y la relación de participantes en el mismo. Y a la hora de las firmas, pues un poquito tener en cuenta, mirar bien el nombre y conservarlo para no firmar la relación de otras personas, con la vista de errores que se tachan y se firma al lado. Y no sé, cualquier cosa que tengáis que comentarnos o decirnos, porque aquí estamos los asesores que van a hacer la actividad, no sé si me ha menos claro cómo va el desarrollo de la sesión. También en la carpeta de firma he tenido una hoja que pone el nombre para kilómetros a aquella persona que se desplace, que pone el nombre de nuestra actividad, pero ahora un poco por reutilizar folios, que va a tener el mismo que se trata y hasta queda un poco curso. Como había un, yo que soy así, he visto un puñado muy gordo de agua que me daba, y me voy a hacer lo diré que lo tache y ponga el nombre de la actividad. Y nada, no sé, creo que estamos a adaptar todo lo que hemos dicho. Con la misma ya Jesús, no sé si es más, a María Pérez, bienvenida a nuestra
A mí se sin micrófono, seguro. Bueno, pues buenas tardes a todos y a todas. Yo, antes de presentar a Marisa, quería dar las gracias también al CER de Almería por la organización de esta actividad, a Loli que lleva todo el peso, que me lo ha ido consultando, lo hemos ido viendo, me ha ido viendo la opinión. Y bueno, pues eso, esperar que responda realmente a vuestros intereses, a las necesidades. He tomado nota de lo que habéis dicho, de que la próxima que se hagan esto, porque son las playas, se lo pasamos tiempo a decirlo, porque se lo diré. Y nada, la próxima que se haga esto, intentaremos que sea en la playa. Pero bueno, voy a presentar a Marisa Pérez Cañado. La verdad es que cuando Loli me lo propuso, para mí tener la suerte, la posibilidad de presentar a Marisa es algo que como el anuncio de la tarjeta no tiene precio. Entonces, pues, si ponéis el nombre en un buscador, Google, lo que sea, veréis que os salen un montón de páginas. Si yo tuviera que decir quién es Marisa, ya creo que acabo la ponencia. Ya sería así de la carta. Pero bueno, algo habrá que decir. La doctora Luisa Pérez Cañado es profesora titular de la Universidad de Jaén, docente en el Departamento de Filología Inglesa y vicedecana de Relaciones Internacionales y Movilidad de la Facultad de Humanidades y Ciencias de la Educación. Su línea de investigación se centra en lingüística aplicada y educación bilingüe y nuevas tecnologías en la enseñanza del idioma. Su producción científica aparece en más de 80 revistas de impacto y cuenta con numerosos volúmenes publicados por las más prestigiosas editoriales. Autora de varios libros sobre la adquisición y la enseñanza de una segunda lengua extranjera y miembro del Consejo de Redacción de al menos 11 revistas internacionales. Ha impartido clases por todo el mundo, por supuesto por todas las geografías españolas, por citar algunos, Bélgica, Polonia, Alemania, Portugal, Irlanda, Inglaterra, México, Brasil, China, Estados Unidos. Ha estado a cargo del programa para la implementación del Sistema Europeo de Crédito de Filología Inglesa de la Universidad de Jaén. Y lo último, seguro que me dejo cosas así recientes, pero lo último que yo tengo conocimiento es que va a dirigir el curso, directora del curso Inspiring Teaching and Learning in Bilingual Environment, que organiza la Universidad Internacional Menéndez Pelayo en su sede de Valencia. Así que darle las gracias por acompañarnos esta tarde y que no sea la última, que podamos contar contigo siempre que lo necesitemos. Gracias.
Bueno, ¿se me oye sin micrófono? Sí. Bueno, buenas tardes y yo tengo que comenzar dándole muchísimas gracias a Jesús por esa presentación tan cariñosa y tan generosa. Él sabe que él es un admiradísimo y queridísimo colega en Cañado de Jaén, que son los territorios por los que yo me muevo. O sea que muchísimas gracias. El honor ha sido mío que me presente. Y también un agradecimiento muy especial a los organizadores de esta actividad, muy especialmente a Loli, por la exquisitez del trato y por la organización tan impecable. De verdad que ha sido mucho trabajar. Y he de deciros que para mí estar aquí con vosotros es un privilegio no solo académico, sino también personal, porque yo, aunque no vivo aquí, yo soy de Almería. Entonces, agradezco muchísimo la oportunidad que me han dado de estar, como decía mi abuelita, en mi Almería de viaje. And with this, I'm going to switch into English because my presentation is going to focus on real English expressions, so I had to do it in English. Although I have also been told that there are coordinators from German who speak perfect English, is that right? Yes. Et on m'a dit aussi qu'il y a quelques coordinateurs et coordinatrices de français, c'est vrai ça? Il y a quelqu'un, oui. J'espère, vous parlez anglais aussi un petit peu?
Pas du tout.
Pas du tout, j'espère que vous allez pouvoir suivre la présentation. On m'a dit qu'on va l'enregistrer, on va la traduire. Bon, bah. Mais je voudrais vous dire que, s'il vous plaît, n'hésitez pas de poser des questions, faire des commentaires en français, espagnol ou en anglais, comme il faut. D'accord? Merci. On y va alors, c'est parti. Okay, so let's launch right into the presentation, which, as you can see, is basically targeted at answering a couple of questions. Where do we stand and where do we need to go in critical teaching, right? And I would like to preface the talk by underscoring that today I come to you essentially as a researcher, okay? Because this is like my major role at university. I do research on how CLIL is working because I have also a personal interest in CLIL. I've been investigating it for almost 10 years now. But I was a product myself of bilingual education because I was taught at American schools in Northern Europe since I was 4. So I've always had a personal interest in seeing how it works. So I've devoted my professional life to this. So I will be offering this perspective and the other perspective that I have, which is that of teacher trainer. Because I teach CLIL-related subjects in 3 different master's degrees. So I will be combining these 2 perspectives to give you a top-down view on how CLIL is working from the university downwards, which I hope will nicely complement the bottom-up grassroots accounts that you will be giving in a wonderful program that I have seen is scheduled for today and tomorrow, okay? So that is the perspective I will be offering. And with this, I would like to launch right into the presentation by beginning with a non-academic quote by Dr. Chopra, who says, "All great changes are preceded by chaos." And I think many of us who have been involved in bilingual schemes in one way or another have experienced this chaos in the past few years. And I certainly have on my end. Because we are living what Mejisto terms a period of disjuncture, of breaking with the past, where a new linguistic dispensation, new linguistic currents and paradigms and scenarios are coming to the fore, where monolingual education is now regarded as drip-feed education, or modelo, right? Or second-rate education, or even as an article that I read recently put it, as the new illiteracy of the 21st century. What a strong claim. So in any case, in general, what we're finding is that we are taking the bilingual, plurilingual turn in education. And it is against this backdrop that our favorite acronym, right, CLIL, has come to the fore. Content and language integrated learning. We have the Spanish equivalent, we've got it in French. En français, c'est quoi? C'est l'enseignement des métiers par l'intégration de langue étrangère. I was recently in Brazil teaching for 2 months, and there they tell me it's a woman's name, Emilia. But don't ask me what it stands for, okay? Because I don't speak a word of Portuguese. But in any case, whatever the acronym, whatever the term, the bottom line is that it has gone viral. It's become a buzzword, right? According to the New York Times, CLIL is finger-snapping with it. It's in, it's trending. And according to the experts, it could be considered a potential lever for change and success in language learning, or even the linchpin to tackle the current foreign language deficit in our country. And it's been embraced in the official literature, and I quote, as awesome innovation, a major step forward, and the ultimate opportunity to learn languages successfully. So as you can see, very high hopes have been pinned on CLIL. And now that in Andalusia, we've been implementing it officially for a decade, it's time to step back and see whether it has lived up to this promise, right? To all this expectation, this hype that it has created. And that is essentially the objective for today, because I think you will agree with me that in Andalusia and elsewhere in Spain and Europe, where CLIL has been implemented, vast amounts of money have been pumped into the CLIL enterprise, and it's affected practically all curricular and organizational aspects, especially us, right? Teachers. We now have to master the foreign language, have expertise in the content, be capable of innovating with student-centered pedagogies, collaborate with our colleagues to a greater extent, all the while maintaining high levels of commitment and motivation. We have to be, as one of my colleagues says, pedagogical superheroes. And for many of us, these past 10 years have been like climbing all the mountains, right? Trying to implement CLIL. We've tried to reach the summit of the mountain, sometimes on our hands and knees, sometimes with blood, sweat, and tears, right? And the time has come if CLIL is expected to come to fruition in 20 years, and it's been running for 10, we are now at what March terms the watershed moment of CLIL. The perfect time to stop and do some stock taking to see how it is working. What parent terms? The efficiency agenda. That is, has all this money and time and effort and hard work and commitment that we put into CLIL been worth it? That is the overarching question that I would like to answer by the end of this hour and a half that we have together. And in doing so, I would like to break it up into 3 sub-questions, okay? Beginning with, how is CLIL working? And I am going to summarize for you all the research, what research tells us, into what is going well, okay? Advantages, assets. I'll then turn to what the chief challenges that you and me are gonna face up to in the future are, by identifying its pitfalls, its disadvantages. And then, since we're here to offer solutions, we'll determine where these outcomes lead us by carving out a future agenda, research-wise and pedagogical. And here, I would like to stop for a few minutes and share with you a practical mini session on what I call real English. Okay? We'll do some practical stuff, which is in your booklets. And finally, we'll finish by summarizing the main conclusions at which we have arrived after the session, right? With the aim of determining where we stand and where we need to go. Is it clear? You agree? How's it looking? Okay? Yeah? Are you ready? All right, let's hit it then. Let's start at the very first question. How is CLIL working? Because if it's not working, we might as well just stop, right? What does research tell us? I told you I was essentially a researcher, right? So I'm going to summarize everything for you. In an article that we published a few years ago, I read all the studies, all the main studies that had been conducted in the whole of Europe on how CLIL was working, and I classified them geographically. And in Andalusia, I've done something similar in a book chapter, and we've identified that there are 5 main types of publications on CLIL in Andalusia, okay? First, we've got teachers who write about how CLIL is working in their classrooms. Fantastic stuff, invaluable endeavors. By the way, all these references that I include in the PowerPoint are all included for you in the first section of the info pass, in case you want to read something in the future, okay? Every one of them is in there. Second, there has been quantitative research. For example, the studies carried out by Francisco Lorenzo and his team in Sevilla, and they compared CLIL and non-CLIL groups with pre and post tests. We also have qualitative research, which has gone and interviewed teachers and observed in the classroom and done questionnaires. And we've also got studies that mix both quantitative and qualitative stuff. And recently, in the past 5 years, we have had very many critical voices being raised in dissent to CLIL. Okay, and I'll tell you about those as well. So, bearing in mind all this research in Andalusia and all the research in Europe, what are the conclusions? Okay, here they go. First, there is an almost infinite amount of publications on CLIL. It has generated great interest. And interestingly, most, if not all of them, attach great prestige to CLIL. Parents, teachers, students, stakeholders, they all view CLIL as extremely positive. And what transpires is a great commitment to the CLIL enterprise. People are ready to work extra hours, right, to make CLIL work. There's great acceptance of it. These studies that have been carried out are also very valuable, but some of them are not really solid. They present problems, methodological problems, which could invalidate the results. Let me give you one example. These studies compare CLIL students with non-CLIL students, right? From your experience, where do the best students normally go? In the CLIL or in the non-CLIL? So they don't guarantee the homogeneity of CLIL and non-CLIL. If we already start out with a better CLIL group, what's the point of comparing? If they're better at the beginning, they're going to be better at the end, right? So we need studies that match the groups, and this hasn't been done yet. There's also a radical rift between bottom-up and top-down findings. What do I mean by this? Well, that top-down research carried out by universities paints CLIL in the most positive light possible. CLIL is working fantastically. There is not a single problem with CLIL, right? Versus bottom-up accounts from teachers who say, what? CLIL as it stands right now, in some cases, is not doable or feasible, so be careful, right? We need to orchestrate a balance between these two perspectives in the future. So the bottom line is that the area is still very much open to scrutiny, as Garcia and Bruton said. There's still much research to be undertaken on it. But the research we do have has told us that there are specific things that are working, okay? See if you agree. First, we now know the competencies that a CLIL teacher should have. There have been proposals in Europe on CLIL teacher competencies, and I'm very happy to say that in the last 5 years, also in Andalusia, fantastic proposals on what the CLIL teacher should be able to do to be successful. I have summarized, again, all these proposals for you into 7 main competencies. Check it out. Obviously, first, we need to have linguistic competence. We need to master BICS and CAL. Are you guys familiar with this distinction, BICS and CAL? Does it ring a bell? Let me tell you. BICS is basic interpersonal communication skills. That is, the language you need to teach a class in English or French or German, right? Children or students, open your books, be quiet. Very good job, right? To give feedback, to ask questions, to give instructions and the like. And CAL is cognitive academic language proficiency. That is the specialized abstract language that we need to teach the parts of the flower in English or French. The reproductive system, okay? The parts of the machinery, the washing machine. So we need to master both in the case of content teachers. This dovetails, of course, with pedagogical competence. We need to be familiar with student-centered methodologies, project-based learning, cooperative learning, task-based language teaching, also with new technologies, ICTs, which are now very important within CLIL, right? And this also is compounded with scientific knowledge. The good CLIL teacher should master a little bit of theory of CLIL, right? For example, I was very surprised in some of the studies that I will be talking about today. I've gone into a lot of CLIL classrooms in Andalusia, Extremadura, Canarias, over 200 classrooms. And I went into the bilingual schools and I talked to teachers and I said, ¿Qué, cómo va el inglés? And they said, right? They didn't know what CLIL was, and they're teaching in a bilingual school, right? We need to know what CLIL is, what basic stuff, right? The theory of learning, the theory of language, the models, some basic theoretical notions. Organizational competence is also crucial because now we have to master varieties of groupings, modalities, etc. And this is in line also with interpersonal competence. We need to create an adequate classroom atmosphere where our students feel comfortable participating and taking risks because now our classrooms are more student-centered. And the sixth one has to do with collaboration with our colleagues and with the families and with the stakeholders to a greater extent. And finally, all this needs to be accompanied by the 3 L's, lifelong learning. That is, we constantly need to update our knowledge about the latest stuff on CLIL and have great enthusiasm. So how many of these competencies do you have? All of them? Yes, of course. Yeah, of course. As Paola Nelson put it, CLIL is no easy undertaking. It's a very tall order for teachers, but hey, if you don't have absolutely all of them, don't worry. At least we know what we need to have, right? And knowing where we need to go is going to help us get there, right? So at least we now know the competencies. Second stuff that we know. All the studies have unequivocally revealed that CLIL students are better than non-CLIL students on all these aspects they have on screen. On the L1, on the content is not watered down by CLIL teaching. On the L2, especially for productive aspects, on motivation, and less positive results have surfaced for these aspects here, maybe because there's an insufficient focus on form in the classrooms. They have to do particularly with production, right? So students tend to understand better than producing. Third, it has been evinced that CLIL students are more motivated towards teaching. And methodologically, we are incorporating more student-centered options in the classroom. Materials are also more tailored to specific needs, and new technology is more prominent in the CLIL classroom. There's a greater participation in mobility and exchange courses, more coordination and participation in teacher training courses, especially language upgrade and study abroad. So hey, we've made some progress, right, in these 10 years. Yeah, some positive stuff is going down, but of course, with the good comes the bad, and there's also a potential downside to CLIL, of which we need to be aware. Which leads us to the second question. By the way, feel free to interrupt at any time, okay? We're like a family, so don't hesitate. If you have a question, something you don't agree with, something you need to say, right? In any language, go right ahead and say it, okay? What are the challenges that you and me, all of us, are going to have to step up to in the very near future? Well, I've always been very interested in this, and we carried out a study for the ministry, El Proyecto NALT, Needs Analysis of Language Teacher Training, and right now we're in the process of conducting 2 other studies for the Junta and the ministry, with which Jesus has been helping us very much. And all of them have canvassed the main teacher training needs for bilingual education. Now, I'm not, we called all these cohorts in service teachers, pre-service teachers, coordinators, teacher trainers, students, parents, so that we can get a very comprehensive perspective. And I'm not going to go into great depth. If you're interested, all the results are in a couple of articles that are in your booklet. But I'm just going to summarize for you the main challenges, okay? Again, see if you agree from your perspective. First challenge. CLIL right now is extremely heterogeneous. In Andalusia, CLIL is implemented in one way, in Extremadura in another way. The Canary Islands, in bilingual community, it's considered to be ambiguous, vague, an umbrella term, which encompasses too broad an array of learning opportunities and program alternatives, right? It's like different, it's context sensitive, it's different in each context, right? It's one size, not one size fits all. So in the future, we need to try and at least describe what CLIL is and what CLIL is not, to try and provide representative pedagogical practices that can help teachers. I know that Javier Gisbert is working already on a series of paradigms that will help us characterize and homogenize CLIL across the whole of Spain. And at least we'll have some practical guidance of what to do in the classroom. Second, catering to diversity. Before we said that we had self-selection, better, stronger students in CLIL, weaker students in non-CLIL. And now we don't have CLIL streams. We have CLIL bilingual schools, right? So, and this is being expanded to vocational training, baccalaureate, university. So we're going to have to ensure that under and overachievers alike are benefiting from CLIL, right? In Granada, the capital right now this year, all the private, up to Primero de ESO, All bilingual schools are fully bilingual. We no longer have CLIL and non-CLIL. So you can imagine the diversity of students to which we're going to have to cater. Right? This is no meager task. Third aspect, people, language. You know, I thought when I was doing this study, I said, language? That's ancient history, right? We've got that solved and mastered, right? Wrong. Most of the teachers I interviewed said, and I quote, "Vamos a peor." Once we have our B2 level, they forget about us. We have very difficult access to a C1, to a C2. We need language. And we have found in the classrooms, I was really surprised in some classrooms, content classrooms, the children knew how to describe the parts of an electric juice blender in English, which I have no idea in English or in Spanish. But they did not know how to communicate in English. And I heard things like, "Do you want to shut up? ¿Queréis callaros?" Right? Instead of, "Hush, be quiet." Or "Open your carpets," or "Open your notebooks." Direct has problems with basic language. And the teachers clamored for fix. They said, "Listen, help us with pronunciation and help us with the language, the fix, right? The communication in the classroom," which is where my real English concept comes from. I'll tell you about that in a minute. Next, of course, methodologies, right? We have found that we still need to provide guidance for collaborative teaching, for the integrated curriculum, the English language portfolio, how to make the most of the language assistant. This is very important. And how to favor student-centered learning, because most teachers tend to reproduce the patterns according to which they were taught. I don't know if you have experienced this. I have. At university, I experienced what I call bulimic learning. I sat and I took notes and I memorized and I regurgitated in an exam. And then I forgot everything, right? Have you experienced bulimic learning? According to research, if we experience a type of learning, we tend to teach it. So we need to break the pattern, the default mode, and overcome it. And sometimes it's difficult, right? So we have to work on that as well. Further aspect, we cannot let our guard down in training. Pre-service training in la universidad, in-service training when we're working. According to Madrid, we now have a double training system for CLIL teachers. Universities and administration. Let's begin with universities, okay? Do you think our grados en lengua moderna, en estudio inglés, en educación, are preparing teachers for CLIL? You're totally right. Again, I bring you research, right? But look, 2 studies, very recent. The first one, de la María Nuevo, look what they did. They looked at all the grados en educación in the whole of Spain. They found barely any linguistic training, pedagogy in the foreign language only in the specific models, and just 13 universities in the whole of Spain offering a meager amount of credits, 3 to 12 credits on CLIL. Nothing. And estudios inglés is even worse. Our students are saying, "Ma, inglés instrumental, por favor, more linguistic training," and nothing on CLIL. So these new grados that we have designed, we've missed the boat, right? We're only working of those 7 competencies only on 2 and just barely, right? We have very little attention to CLIL. So as you very rightly pointed out, no, pre-service training is not fitting for CLIL. Madrid have pointed this out, right? It's not responding to this social demand for bilingual training. What about in-service training, the administration, once we're working? Well, Salaberry Ramiro, who works here at the University of María, has canvassed the main ways in which it's conducted. Of course, we have the wonderful, wonderful work of our FEPs, right, for methodological and linguistic training. We've got our official language schools, especially the CAL courses. We've got Andalusian universities. We were financed for 3 consecutive years to offer conferences on CLIL. Then it stopped, but hey, we had 3 years of that. And then we've got our immersion, study abroad, job shadowing, licenses offered by Futuro. You think this is enough? Well, research, unfortunately says again that it's not enough. Yes, we're getting there, but it's not enough because all these authors have found that especially primary school teachers and content teachers need linguistic training. That we are not familiar with the theory underlying CLIL. That we still need help with student-centered methodologies and with materials design. And that we need to step up collaboration and teamwork. So we're on our way, but there's still a bit to do, right? So as I was saying, we need to continue insisting on pre and in-service training. Finally, last challenge. We have found that there are a series of false myths about CLIL which are proliferating and which are potentially very dangerous because they can demotivate teachers and they can misguide the implementation process. Let me give you just 2 examples, okay? One false myth. People say, if I teach in English certain subjects, my student Spanish is going to suffer, and they're not going to learn the contents as well, which is a perfectly legitimate concern, right? But research, and we saw it, has evidenced that this is not the case. CLIL students do just as well as, or even better, than their non-CLIL counterparts on L1 and content. So don't worry there at all. Second false myth. CLIL, all we have to do is translate. We teach in Spanish and we translate it into English. One of the classes de ética that I observed in a high school in Antofagasta, the ethics teacher got the student to do the presentation in Spanish and then translate it into English. And this happened in Valencia as well, and it led to what Las Arabas de la Sierra have called the Valencian fiasco. Because CLIL teaching flopped. It's not just translating. It's so much more than that, right? In terms of student-centered teaching. So, we have our work cut out for us, right? Over these next few years, we've still got a few challenges ahead. But we're here to provide solutions, right? So this leads us to our third question. Where do these outcomes lead us? What are the main solutions? Well, I would like to propose 5 main actions, which in my opinion are the solutions. I call it the theory of the 5 Asians. This is what we need, in my opinion, to address these challenges and conquer them. First, we need to depart from observation. In our classrooms, analyze how CLIL is working. I told you I was a teacher trainer, right? One of the masters that I'm teaching right now, called David Marsh, is on CLIL. And in the subject, we get in-service teachers to reflect, observe a lesson by themselves and reflect on it according to a series of criteria, right? And this helps us to see what can be improved and what is working well. And then we should also have joint reflection with our colleagues. 2 good examples of this were the Jornada Regional de Bilingüismo a couple of years ago, where stakeholders, representatives from all the stakeholders that you have on the screen, got together and we just talked. We had roundtables. We discussed the pros, the cons, what was working, what was not. And the British Council does this every year for the whole of Spain. Last year it was on Formación Inicial. And all these aspects, these conclusions help to guide the CLIL implementation process in the future. Second, we need investigation. Not only by us at universities, but by you guys as well, practicing teachers. Extremely valuable. A way to take ownership for CLIL pedagogies. And right now, I have to tell you that we're living a fascinating moment in CLIL research. Is anyone interested in doing a thesis or a PhD? We gotta talk. Fascinating moment. I call it the pendulum effect moment. Have you guys studied the history of language teaching, like grammar translation, the direct method, or Duolingo, yeah. Well, these methods, we saw the pendulum effect at work, right? Because if grammar translation said, only teach in Spanish, and only teach grammar deductively, the direct method, the next method came and said, no, never teach in Spanish, and only teach grammar inductively. So we had these drastic swings of the pendulum, and for the first time, we're seeing them in CLIL. There are two moments that we can discern. The first one, I call it the Pollyanna moment. Do you guys know who Pollyanna was? She was a little orphan girl who was the protagonist of a series of novels by Eleanor Porter in the early 20th century. And Pollyanna was extremely optimistic. No matter what calamity she underwent, she always saw the bright side. That's the first clue moment. If you read some of the initial studies, everything's peachy. CLIL is working fantastic. Oh, not a single problem. And now, especially with Anthony Bruton from Sevilla, we are living what I call the Scrooge moment. Now they're saying, oh, no matter what we do with CLIL, it's never going to work. They have this dismal and pessimistic outlook. We have to bring the pendulum to a standstill through solid research and good work in our classrooms, right? So that's the challenge ahead. And in order to do so, I have identified in a recent publication the main strands for CLIL research. So as I was saying, if you're interested in doing a thesis or whatever, I'll be happy to share them for you. This is where we're going in the future, right? In terms of the effects of CLIL on L1, on L2, on the content, on qualitative research, on meta-analysis, fascinating avenues for research, which we're already investigating. Third main implication, the results of this investigation then need to be communicated. We need to know the results, right? We need information for everybody, not just us, but people at university, inspectores de educación, right? Superintendents, the official language schools. Everyone needs to be up to date on how CLIL is working. And in order to achieve this objective, I have included in the final section of your info packs, of your dossiers, my top picks, my top networks, associations, journals, book series, conferences, everything on CLIL for you to be up to date with the latest, okay? And the final two H's for me are the most important. The fourth one is education. Teacher training. I already said this, right? Teacher training is where CLIL will stand or fall in terms of sustainability. And it's so important that this is where I would like to stop for a few minutes to tell you 5 sub-actions that I would follow to address teacher training. First, we saw our grados were not working, right? Well, let's modify them. In September, we have evaluators coming into universities for the renovación de acreditación de los nuevos títulos de grado. Perfect opportunity. Now we can introduce changes. Let's do it. Let's introduce specific disciplines on CLIL. Menciones de especializaciones. Also in our Máster de Secundaria. Are you involved in some way in the Máster de Secundaria? Of course. Let's include los TCM, the end of master's dissertations, a specific strand on CLIL, or within one of the obligatory subjects, some CLIL, or within the elective subjects, or within the cursos de adaptación al grado. And of course, foster practical training periods in bilingual schools for grado and for máster. Second line of action, new títulos propios. This is from our responsibility, right, at university. Why not design a new degree on expert in bilingual education? Or Master Propio, a new master's from at university. Our modern language centers, los centros de lenguas modernas, are also a great way. Ours in Cañado is working with the British Council to introduce CLIL courses for professionals. And the University of Córdoba has a great plan for the promotion of plurilingualism at university as well. Let's take note and imitate what's working there. Third, what do you think of bilingual degrees? Do you like them? Do you think this is the way to go? Have you experienced them? Bilingual degrees? So you have grado en educación bilingüe. We're teaching CLIL at university, or chemical engineering with subjects in English, right? I'm very jealous of the universities of Madrid. They have done fantastic work. In the last jornada sobre implantación de grado bilingüe, we heard of the fantastic work and results that they're having with bilingual degrees. And in Granada, Madrid have reported on the bilingual strand of their grado en educación primaria, which is working fantastic. So that's the way to get our teachers, before they start teaching, already involved with English and other languages. Fourth, why not a new master's on CLIL? And this is something that we have just done. I'm happy to report we have just set up a new Máster Interuniversitario de Centro Bilingüe y Haití. It's going to be coordinated by Jaén, but all Andalusian universities are going to be participating in it. Fully online, so that everyone can do it. It's going to start in 2017. And the good news is that the structure of the masters that you have here is based exactly on the findings of our studies, so that we know that we are working on real needs of teachers and not just abstract opinions. So it's an instance of what Hoyle calls evidence-based practice, of research at the service of pedagogy, which is what I think research is there for in the first place. And finally, specific courses on CLIL. Of course, our TEPs do a wonderful job on that. We've also got associations like Nile or Pilgrims. Are you familiar with them? Yeah, they offer CLIL courses in Britain, Great Britain, or they bring them to you if you have enough students. And then we've got Greta, you know Greta, the association, the Andalusian Association for English Teachers. They offer their annual conference. By the way, this year in Granada in October, Fred Genesi, the father of emergent education, is going to be there, right? I'm salivating already. And they also offer a specific CLIL course in for example, Jaén. I know in Almería, the University of Almería, they were also doing something short, one-day seminar on CLIL, which is another good way. The WIP course that Jesus alluded to previously as well, we have asked in Valencia in July, we're going to get together for a week, and we're going to work on all these lacunae that we have observed. We're going to know how to cater to diversity, how to work with the English language assistant, how to use student-centered methodologies, the basic theory underlying CLIL, use of new technologies, telecollaboration and e-twinning. We're going to get together and work with that with bilingual teachers from secondary school. And then we have set up the course that I wanted to bring here today a través del proyecto Real English for CLIL. Remember that lacuna on mix, that we needed language to communicate, yeah? Well, we said, okay, let's work on it. And we designed through this project a glossary of what I call real English expressions to work on mix within CLIL, like a Russian nested doll set, right? And in this sense, I have coined, it's a personal term, the real English concept. Let me explain to you what I mean by this, okay? I define real English as single words, but especially groups of words, lexical chunks, which are currently employed in conversational English by native speakers of the language. So they are colloquial, they are updated and relevant because they're really used, and they favor fluency or confluence, as Carter calls it, interaction in the classroom. So they have a very important function in the CLIL class, to give instructions, to provide feedback, to scold students. I think you will understand better what I mean by real English if I give you examples, okay? And with the examples, you will see that it's very basic. Real English can work at baccalaureate and university, but also in infant education. Let's see. What do we normally teach in Spain to respond to something as basic as how are you? I'm fine, thanks. So you guys are good, right? But I also heard this. I am very well, thank you. How about you? In real English, what we're saying now is not I'm fine or I'm very well. It's I'm good. I'm good. How are you? I'm good. Yourself? That's what people are really saying. Not I'm very well, thank you. How about you? How about to say something as simple as, oh yeah, what's that? Of course, yes, you can say thanks a lot, but thanks a lot in real English has a negative connotation, as in, yeah, thanks a lot, you've helped me so much, irony, right? What we're really saying is, thank you so much, right? Not thank you very much, but thanks a lot, thank you so much. If you heard Penelope Cruz in her Oscar speech, she got this perfect, right? Thank you so much. One of my favorites, de nada. What do we say? See, again, you guys are good. But I have heard, not that good. No? Not that good. Never. You're welcome. Hey, no problem. Sure. What we're really using now is a sound. This one, look. With rising intonation. If you go to the United States and somebody opens the door for you, you go like, thank you. They'll say, That's it. Not that good. That's real English. How about to say genial? Awesome. Very good. Look, this has changed over time. Isn't this interesting? In the 50s and 60s, people said, oh, that is swell. In the 80s, rad. That was from radical, right? Hugh Grant in the 90s popularized, that was excellent. Yes, excellent. Now people are saying awesome, and what kids are saying is sick. If you say, oh my God, that is sick, that means that is cool. Or this one, have you heard this one, bay? It stands for before anything else. Bay means that is so cool, so that is very bay. Okay? That is sick, that is awesome. Okay? What about to express strong disagreement? This is a true story that I'm going to tell you right now. When I was teaching Inglés Instrumental at university, I had a textbook as a base. I never really used it, but some of it I did. And it had said, to express strong disagreement in English, you must say, oh no, not for all the tea in China. And I told my students, get a pen and scratch that out, okay? We don't say that, we say, hey, no way, right? Or not gonna happen. It's a no can do. And what about to order in a restaurant? What do we teach in textbooks? We teach. You hear stuff, right? Like, yes, I think I will have. Yes, could you possibly bring me the hamburger? Nobody says this. We say, can I get a hamburger? Hey, Doc, can I get a hamburger? Can I get a Diet Coke, please? Could I get? That's it. Final batch, okay? Final batch. To give advice, we teach. If I were you, I would. Have you thought about the possibility of you wanna, you don't wanna. Hey, you really wanna try this cake. It is so good. You don't want to go to that restaurant. The service is awful and it's really expensive. You wanna, you don't wanna. That's it. And how about to say venga ya, or as we say in María, ¿qué dices? ¿Qué me estás contando? How do you say that in English? Shut up! Ojo a la entonación, no shut up. Shut up. Seriously. Are you freaking kidding me? Or in British English, just lie. Right? And finally, something as basic as, oye, ¿qué tal? There you go. How's it going? What's up? Let's do it. Let's shake it. Okay? So for like, 5 years now, I have been working and preaching real English. I've gone to top courses in the University of Jaén and the University of María last year, even at the Academia General Militar de Zaragoza, to the cadets and the English department, to overcome what I call the it's raining cats and dogs syndrome. Okay? That is teaching expressions that nobody ever uses. Why waste our precious time and effort? And then if you go to England and you say, oh my, it's raining cats and dogs, people are gonna look at you like you crawled out of a hole, okay? You wanna say, oh gosh, it's pissing down with rain, or it's bucketing down. Okay, so we've designed a glossary, which I will be more than happy to share with you if you're interested, for the CLU classroom, right? So with words like, hey, awesome work, good for you. With collocations like, hey, this composition is way better, rather than much better, way better than the last one. Or okay, class, to wrap up today's session, finished, conclude. Or lexical phrases, instead of saying, what do you think? Use a real English expression. What's your take? What's your opinion? What's your take on this? Or acronyms, which the students love, especially with the bad words like WPF, right? Or sounds like that we mentioned, and which are interesting because they vary interculturally. For example, I told you before that I was in Brazil recently. And in Spain, when we say, hey, what do we use that sound for? That's right. You want to call someone, catch their attention. In Brazil, means, in Portuguese, yes. So you will hear them going, right, all the time. Or in British English, oi! What's that for? In British English, the same as in Spanish, right? Oh, lady, you dropped your purse, oi! In Brazil, oi means hello, right? So it could lead to intercultural conflict, and it's interesting to raise awareness of it. So we've designed this glossary because we believe that learning real English is very important. Let me see if I can convince you, okay? Later you tell me if I have convinced you or not. First, why should we learn it and teach it? Because we are language teachers. We're not math teachers. Math kind of stays the same, right? English and languages in general, they're alive. They're changing. So no language stays still. But this is particularly the case of English. In fact, according to Crystal, there's never been such a period of rapid expansion of English since the Middle Ages. So right now, it's changing a lot. And this is especially affecting vocabulary, real English expressions. Secondly, because we need to make sure that our students understand these real English chunks. And hopefully also use them. I was teaching the Master de Secundaria the other day, and we had a discussion because one of my students said, Marisa, when I watch Big Bang Theory in English, I don't understand anything. Or Gossip Girl, or series in English. Why? I am graduado en estudio inglés, and I'm doing a master, I don't understand. And we discussed this and we came to the conclusion that it was because these series are plagued with real English expressions. So you need to be able to recognize them and hopefully also produce them, right? And ideally. Third, of course, so that we don't waste our time in learning it's rain, cats, and dogs, right? We don't make an effort to learn stilted or obsolete expressions. And also because they're very important for oral communication. They have very important functions, especially for examiners. Trinity and Cambridge examiners are looking for these expressions. So they can greatly help us and help our students. And the good news is that once we learn them, they become automatic. In fact, according to Lewis, one of the advocates of these expressions, the difference between speaking English well and very well lies in the amount of real English expressions that we have stored and ready to pull out in an automatic way. And then, because they increase the native-like quality of our speaking, right? They help us approximate the real stuff that native speakers are producing. Which leads to the next question. Who should learn real English? Native speakers? No, native speakers have it. They hear it every day. They hear it on the street. They hear it on TV. They read it in the newspapers, right? It's for us, non-native speakers, that real English is important. Especially for non-native speakers in Andalusia, right? With a firmly entrenched monolingual model. Here, do you have access to English every day? We watch a movie, it's dubbed. We watch a TV series, it's dubbed. President Obama comes on screen on the news, he's dubbed. We don't hear any English, right? And there's been research that has demonstrated that those countries who subtitle, like Holland, where I live, or even Portugal, our neighbor, they're better at languages. They have a higher level in this dove, right? So we don't have this extramural exposure. And this dovetails with methodological deficiencies. I don't know if you will agree with me, but I've been observing a lot of classrooms, and grammar translation is still alive. I see a lot of teachers teaching English in Spanish, right? Which for me was a great shock, right? So we've got to be familiar with real English, particularly in our context. Yeah? Okay, so we've designed activities to work on this taxonomy, some of which I will now share with you, okay? And we've piloted them, so you've got the perfect versions, okay? The tried and tested versions. And we're in the process of publishing them. I have to tell you that I've actually been piloting them on my Twitter. I have a Twitter where every day I have like 10 different promotions, cohorts of students, and I feed them a real English expression every day. I classify it, and they love it. They write me, they ask me how it's pronounced, they send me a song where they heard it, or a movie, or they ask me questions. It's a good way to keep them up to speed with English language, right? Since you guys are so good, feel free to tweet me, and I will retweet you, okay? Okay. All right, so these are some of the activities, the aspects that we have worked on. And what we've done is include a whole bunch of different activities, like gap filling, or matching, or role plays, or tic-tac-toe, ordering, and the like. And I wanted to work with you on a few of them, okay? I believe, yeah, we still have a little time, perfect. We don't have a lot of time to work on many, but at least you get a taste, okay, of real English in practice. I've included it in the second part of your book. Let's begin with real English sounds. Can you find a worksheet that says real English sounds, like, yeah? Let's work on that. This is interesting intercultural, as I mentioned as well. Are you there? Yeah? Okay, so tell me, are we all Spanish, by the way, or we're all Spanish, right? Oh, it's interesting also to look at different nationalities. But I think we'll agree. In Spanish, what noise, what sound do we make if we haven't understood something? Tell me. That's right. Okay. If you agree with what has just been said, what sound do we make? Oh, you're so English. What about if somebody has just said, gracias? What do we say? What do you mean? And if you have accidentally dropped something, oops, yeah? How English of you. That's it. If your favorite soccer team has just scored a goal, hold on. If you hesitate while you're speaking, if you've just done something wrong, or a problem hasn't risen, if you see something disgusting and delicious, and if somebody says something very obvious which everybody already knows, if you tell someone to hurry up, en español. You guys are so good. You know everything already. How about if you hurt yourself in Spanish? Fantastic. Now, my proposal is that you do the same, finding the English equivalent. And to help you, I've included it in this little table in the middle of the page. So you've got chomp chomp, yummy, duh, all right, yeah, ew, ouch. So can you quickly work with someone and see how many you can find, okay? Vous pouvez.
Yo podría. No, espérate, que no entendí. Espérate, que no entendí.
On peut voir aussi ça en français. Hein. Quels sont ces You got it? Not yet. Not yet. I have to think. Okay, I see some pretty good stuff. Let's share. Let's pull our notes. If you haven't understood something, you can just say. That's right. H-U-H. If you agree with what has just been said, what would you say? U-H, H-U-H. If somebody has just thanked you, you know this one. Excellent pronunciation. If you have accidentally dropped something, very good. And if your favorite soccer team is just scored a goal, all right. Guys are good. And if you hesitate while speaking, so U-M-M-S. And this is very useful. I tell my students, instead of being quiet, sing it. The other day I was going to the shop, and at least you're not silent, right? So very useful. Something has gone wrong. Problem. Yes, oops could also work. Something disgusting. Favorite. And delicious. Yummy. we use this next one a lot. Somebody says something really stupid and obvious, and you go, hurry up! Come on! Chop, 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 and you hurt yourself. Ouch! Excellent! Awesome! Awesome work. So guys, you see this? If we use this in the classroom, there are many others. We use them with kids since they're small. They're going to hear it so much, they're going to start using it. And they're going to start sounding like real English speakers, right? Even if the sounds that we do. Well done, well done. Okay, next proposal. I think we probably have 2 or 3 more activities that we can do. Let's do binomials and trinomials. These are very used in real English. Here you've got their expressions which you cannot change the order, right? Like short, sweet, stick and span, beg and call, or even with 3 trinomials, blood, sweat, and tears. So my proposal in this next activity is that you, again, work with someone if you like, and together try and fill in as many gaps as you can with binomials and trinomials, okay? Give it a shot. Doesn't matter if you get just a few, I would help you. Go ahead, give it a shot. Okay, people, shall we come together? Yeah. Let's arrive at the solutions together. Let's do one now. For example, the first one. Estoy harta. There's a song by Anastasia with this. Sing the entire scheme of this. Sing in your competition. Please, let's During the exam, remember it only accounts for 40% of your final grade. Full common collected. Say full common collected. Please keep your oral presentations al grano, short and sweet. You only have 10 minutes for their delivery. Bien, ir al grano, short and sweet. De ninguna manera voy a aceptar el plagio. In no way, shape, or form will I be accepting papers as plagiarism. No way. I've seen this mistake being made una y otra vez. Pretty carefully. I know you put a lot of last second here, but this episode don't prove false. No me da la bata, I want your essays fully revised and perfecto, limpio de cualquier error. No, because yes, but no. Stick and span, perfecto, limpios essays. Stick and span. Stick and span. The answer to that question, si va a hacer una pregunta que no sabe muy bien responder, es que es un poco impredecible, porque es cierta. There's no clear para la cobertura de la móvil. Reception here is kind of touch and go. Okay. De hecho, por la parte impredecible, incierto, que va y viene. I am aware that you've got a lot of different projects to hand in por todas. Left, right, and center. So I'm going to give you a deadline to finish. Left, right, and center. Por todo. If you have any questions, esta me encanta. Estoy a vuestra entera disposición. I'm at your beck and call. Hey, wow, I am impressed, people. Great stuff. Good for you. Okay, voy a decir otra para good for you. En vez de decir congratulations, another expression that everyone has here, como no va a dar tiempo, la digo. Kudos. K-U-D-O-S. Kudos to you. That means congratulations. Kudos. Kudos. K-U-D-O-S. La tenéis en una de las actividades, pero no va a dar tiempo, right? So kudos. Congratulations. Okay. Maybe one very quick sign activity. Look at fixed expressions. These fixed expressions. Yeah, I always over-plan, so you have more activities just in case. So let's finish with this one, fixed expressions. Here you've got an expression that we can use in the classroom, but there's one word that is wrong, and it makes the expression invalid and sounds weird. Tell me what the word is. It's up with you, para tú decides. It's up to you. Espera un segundo y ahora volvemos a esta idea. Hold the thought. Es una palabra. Hold on, puedo llevar el verbo thoughts. Hold that thought. Fijaos como una palabra ya no lo cambies. Hold that thought. Okay? So, hold that thought and we'll go back in a minute. Or, tómate el tiempo que necesites, que no hay. Take your time. Very good. Oye, no lo he entendido. Sorry, I didn't touch it. Yes, I didn't get that. Can you repeat it, please? I didn't catch that. Yes, that was a word. Yeah, absolutely. I didn't catch that. I didn't get that. Para llamar la atención, de venir a mí. ¿Qué hace? Eyes on me. Eyes on me, people. Eyes on me. Don't worry, I'm all over it. Cuando piden algo, le quiero que tiene ello, ¿vale? I'm all over it. I'm all over it. También podríamos decir, I'm on it. I'm on it. Y luego, te viene bien, para quedar con tu tutoría. Te viene bien, ¿verdad? Work. Very good. Fantastic. Kudos. Great stuff. Okay, so I was very ambitious, and I put a lot more activities in there, but we're going to finish up, okay? questions? We want to leave them until the end. I'm almost finishing now. Yeah, but everything okay on real English? Yeah? Okay. So, to finish, the final Asian, all this was for education, teacher training. The final Asian, never forget motivation. We need to be motivated for the, we need incentives, right? Economical, course rebates, whatever, we need stability. We need to debunk those false myths that we saw, yeah, so that we are not motivated. And we need time and patience. Remember, Hugh said 20 years for this to work perfectly, so hang in there, okay? Patience, because I think the attitude that we should be following is perfectly encapsulated in the slogan for Dunkin' Donuts. Do you guys know Dunkin' Donuts? We love them, right? Their slogan is a can do, and yes, we can, and because as Fernandez and Hallbeck have put it, success ultimately relies on you, right? On your motivation and commitment more than on anything other. Okay, so let's wrap this up, shall we? Over the course of the past hour and 15 minutes approximately, I have attempted to answer 3 questions. Now you tell me if I have been successful, okay? Do we now know how Quill is working? Do we know what's good, the accents? Okay. Do we know what the chief challenges that we're going to have to face up in the future are? We've identified the main pitfalls. And have we provided solutions for the future Quill agenda? Yeah, okay, we've done our best, So I hope that these 3 questions in completion have allowed us to answer the overarching question of where we stand and where we need to go, which takes us back to the very beginning. Have we reached the summit of that mountain that we were climbing? Well, if you think about it, we have made a lot of progress, haven't we? Clearly it's working. It's having beneficial effects on the L1, on the L2, on the content. We know the competencies that we need to have. CLIL programs are up and running. So, hey, yes, we could say that we have reached the summit after 10 years. But don't forget what the famous mountaineer Ed Viestor said. Reaching the summit is only half the journey. We still have to climb down the Himalaya, right? Safely. So I hope that armed with this knowledge of the challenges and the solutions that we discussed here today, we can all bring CLIL implementation home safe and sound. So thank you very much for your attention and for a very vague session. If there's anything you want to discuss in the future, so fire away if there's anything you'd like to share.
You mentioned the observation as a way where I have to worry about I find that very valuable and can be collaborating with. Have you seen any solutions that happen or
You know, I totally agree with you. I think that in Spain, furthermore, we have like very little tradition of going in and observing each other. For example, in the States, this is normal, and people feel they welcome others in their classroom. Exactly. But here, it's like you feel present, like you need to get prepared, like it's difficult logistically. So I think, well, first of all, I propose departing from self-observation. That's the first deal, right? Analyze yourself first. And then there are, in this sense, if you want to observe others, I also recommend some really good job shadowing programs. abroad, especially, although I know that's not also done nationally, because there you have the institutional support to be able to conduct this observation. So it's a nice way to be able to channel it, overcoming those challenges, which I totally agree with, we tend to experience.
So there's opportunities for the young.
Yes, there are job shadowing programs, which I know are offered by another. So we didn't inquire into that. I think maybe to our curriculum coordinators, they can be good points of information to help us know exactly what is our at least they do exist. Of course, if school-wide, you can set something up, it would be wonderful, but exactly. You start, my motto is always start small and scale it up. So you start with yourself, start with like maybe with a colleague, then maybe involve other colleagues if you see that it's working, and you know, the sky is the limit. Don't give up. More questions, please, comments.
I want to publish classroom English glossary. It's going to be published.
It's going to be when I have time, but I've got it already. So if you want to drop me an email, I will be happy to share it with you.
Because no, Sarah's already, she published classroom language about 15 years ago, and I'm still used.
Really? Well, some of it might be still up to date, and some of it might not. Yeah, some of it happens even yearly. Some of these, maybe next year, Bay or SIG will already be obsolete. So I'll be happy to share it with you. Absolutely.
¿Alguna pregunta? Bueno, pues vamos a iniciar el descanso, si ya sabéis.
Thank you so much, maravilloso. Me voy impresionando.
Gracias.